Welcome back to Athletics Mode, where we break down the most incredible, unbelievable, and heart-stopping narratives in the entire universe of professional sports. Today, we are diving deep into a story that sounds like it was ripped straight out of a Hollywood movie script. We are talking about the darkest, most punishing, and most psychologically demanding sport on the face of the earth, professional figure skating. This is a sport that eats children alive. It takes young, brilliant, fragile prodigies, squeezes every ounce of jumping ability out of their growing bones, places the weight of entire nations on their teenage shoulders, and then casts them aside the moment they crack under the pressure. We have seen it happen generation after generation. We saw the intense, crushing pressure placed on legends like Michelle Kwan, Tara Lipinski, and Sasha Cohen, but what we are witnessing right now is something entirely unprecedented in the history of the United States Figure Skating Association. We are witnessing the glorious, unapologetic, and fiercely independent resurrection of Alysa Liu. If you do not know the history of Alysa Liu, you need to understand the absolute sheer magnitude of her talent. She was not just a good skater, she was the chosen one. She was the golden child of American ice. At 13 years old, she landed a triple axel and became the youngest United States national champion in history. She was instantly anointed as the savior of American women's figure skating, the girl who was destined to go to Beijing and tear down the impenetrable Russian figure skating machine. The media swarmed her, the coaches drilled her, the expectations became a suffocating, unbearable avalanche of pressure. She was a child operating in a ruthless, adult corporate sports machine. And then, at the age of 16, fresh off a bronze medal at the World Championships, when she was supposed to be entering the absolute prime of her athletic career, Alysa Liu did the unthinkable. She looked at the cameras, she looked at the judges, she looked at the entire toxic infrastructure of elite figure skating, and she walked away. She retired. At 16 years old. It was a shockwave that reverberated through the entire Olympic community. People called it a tragedy. People said she was walking away from millions of dollars and guaranteed Olympic glory. But it wasn't a tragedy. It was an act of profound self-preservation. Alysa Liu retired because she wanted to be a normal teenager. She wanted to preserve her mental health. She wanted to escape the dictatorship of the ice rink. And for 2 years, she vanished from the competitive spotlight. She lived her life, she found her joy again. But the ice has a gravity to it. The Olympic rings have a siren song that only a very select few human beings can hear. And last year, Alysa Liu shocked the world for a second time. She announced she was coming back. But this time, the girl who returned was not the obedient, silent 13-year-old child prodigy. The woman who returned is a 19-year-old powerhouse who refuses to bow to the traditional, oppressive, coach-centric hierarchy of figure skating. She recently sat down with Jimmy Fallon on The Tonight Show, and she delivered an absolute masterclass in taking back your own narrative. Jimmy tried to ask her about her coaches and her routine, and Alysa completely flipped the script, revealing a level of independence that is terrifying the traditional figure skating establishment. I have a lot of creative control, we all boss. Oh, Rai, do you understand how revolutionary that statement is in the context of professional figure skating? Figure skating is historically a dictatorship. The coach is the absolute monarch. The coach picks the music. The coach picks the dress. The coach dictates what time you wake up, what you eat, how many times you jump, and when you are allowed to breathe. Skaters are traditionally treated like beautifully programmed robots, designed merely to execute the vision of the choreographer and the demands of the federation. But Alysa Liu just went on national television, sitting on one of the biggest media platforms in the world, and declared independence. She is drawing her own terrible sketches for her dress designers. She is picking her own music, skating to Lafay and Lady Gaga instead of the traditional, boring, classical symphonies that the judges usually demand. She is setting her own schedule. She is driving herself to the rink. She is looking at the United States Figure Skating Association and saying, if I am going to bleed for this sport, if I am going to put my body through the absolute torture of the Olympic qualifying cycle, I am going to do it on my own terms. I am the CEO of my own career. Oblardi, that level of maturity, that level of self-actualization from a 19-year-old athlete is staggering. It completely shifts the power dynamic. She isn't skating to please a panel of judges anymore. She is skating because she loves it, and that makes her infinitely more dangerous to the competition. And make no mistake, the competition should be absolutely terrified right now. Because Alysa Liu didn't just come back to have fun and wear pretty dresses. She came back to conquer. She came back to secure her spot on the 2026 Milano Cortina Winter Olympics team, and she is bringing out the heavy artillery to do it. we have to talk about the mechanics and the physics of the jumps, because this is where the cute, inspiring comeback story turns into a terrifying athletic flex. In women's figure skating, the absolute pinnacle of technical mastery, the holy grail of jumps, is the triple axel. It is a jump so profoundly difficult, so violently demanding on the human body, that only a handful of women in the entire history of the sport have ever landed it cleanly in international competition. You have to launch yourself forward off the outside edge of your skate, hurl your body into the air, rotate 3.5 times in a fraction of a second, and land backward on a blade that is 1/4 of an inch thick, absorbing a force equivalent to 8 times your own body weight. It breaks ankles. It shatters knees. It destroys careers. Elisa Liu had it when she was a child, but losing it during puberty is common. Jimmy Fallon asked her about it, expecting a humble answer about how hard training is. Instead, Elisa dropped a technical nuke on the entire figure skating world.
Playlists, like, anywhere.
Just started doing them clean in practice last week. Arvordi, she said it with a smile, but that sentence just sent a cold shiver down the spine of every single elite figure skater from Japan to South Korea to Russia. She is landing the triple axel again, cleanly. If Elisa Liu goes into the 2026 Olympic season with a consistent triple axel, combined with her new, mature artistic expression, her complete creative control, and her newly discovered mental freedom, she is not just a contender to make the Olympic team, she is a legitimate threat to stand on the podium and bring a medal back to the United States. She is putting the work in, and she knows exactly how lethal her arsenal is. But the absolute greatest part of this entire Tonight Show appearance wasn't the inspiring comeback story, and it wasn't the technical bragging. It was the moment Elisa Liu decided to assert her dominance over the room by completely and utterly humiliating Jimmy Fallon on his own show. You have to understand the dynamic of late-night television. Usually, young athletes go on these shows. They are nervous. They give rehearsed answers. They laugh politely at the host's jokes, and they let the host run the segment. Not Elisa Liu. The boss mentality translated directly to the interview chair. She brought video clips of herself performing absolutely mind-bending, physically impossible elements on the ice, and she forced Jimmy Fallon to take a multiple-choice quiz on national television to guess the names of the moves. It was a brilliant power move. She essentially said, "You want to talk about my sport? Let's see if you even know what you are looking at." She showed a clip of an insanely complex, lightning-fast jumping combination. The audience gasped. Jimmy Fallon looked like a deer caught in the headlights, and Elisa, with the cold, calculated precision of an Olympic assassin, offered him 2 choices. One was the real, highly technical name of the element, the other was a completely made-up, hilariously fake sequence of words designed specifically to trick a clueless late-night host. A triple leap with a 1-2 combo. Jimmy Fallon actually confidently guessed a triple leap with a 1-2 combo. The buzzer sounded, the audience erupted, and Elisa Liu just sat there laughing at the absolute absurdity of it all. She roasted him. She exposed the mainstream media's total lack of understanding of the sheer technical difficulty of her sport, and she did it with a charming, undeniable charisma that had the entire studio audience eating out of the palm of her hand. She then showed a Bielman spin, forcing Jimmy to guess between that and a fake Jackman twirl. The entire segment was a masterclass in media manipulation. She wasn't just a guest on his show. She took over the show. She produced the segment, she delivered the punchlines, and she made herself the undisputed star of the night. This is the evolution of a superstar. We are no longer watching a terrified teenager trying to carry the weight of an entire national federation on her back. We are watching a fiercely intelligent, highly charismatic, athletically supreme 19-year-old woman who has completely figured out the game. She knows how the media works, she knows how the judging system works, she knows exactly what her body is capable of. As we barrel toward the 2026 Winter Olympics in Milano Cortina, the narrative surrounding American women's figure skating has completely shifted. It is no longer a story of desperation, it is a story of anticipation. The United States has its queen back, but this time, she isn't wearing a crown given to her by the coaches, she forged the crown herself. She has the triple axel, she has the creative control, she has the personality to captivate millions of fans. Elisa Liu walked away from the sport to save her life, and she has returned to the ice to claim her throne. The countdown to 2026 has officially begun, and if this Tonight Show appearance is any indication of the energy she is bringing into this Olympic cycle, the rest of the world needs to watch out. The boss has arrived, and she is just getting started. This is Athletic Stories, and we will be here covering every single jump, spin, and dramatic twist on the road to Italy. Stay tuned, because the ice is about to catch fire.